So I have my album Wishes Are Never Perfect coming out here in November. And I kind of wanted to start talking about like the process of like why I made this album, like the concept behind it, like things like that. But a lot of it for me comes down to the reasons why I started making music in the first place. So I actually started making music when I was about 9 years old. And for me, it was around the time where I had lost my father to suicide. I didn't know that he had committed suicide at that point, and that's a different story. But I had found a way to release negative energy and just my feelings and my emotions in a safe, productive way. And that's where I started making music. And when I was making music when I was younger, it was literally just me in my room figuring things out. I wasn't using a studio. I wasn't buying beats or like collaborating. It was just me with the equipment that I had trying to get this energy in my head out in a way that was genuine and pure and provided a sense of solace and salvation for me. And honestly, that's kind of how music really started for me in general, was because I used it as an outlet to express myself, whether it was like crushes that I had, I made love songs about them, or people I was mad at, I made diss tracks about them, or things I was happy about, I would rap about. And music became like an extension of me. And this was always the case for the vast majority of my career. Famously, my first album, Notebook, I made that shit at the Blockhouse Apartments, just locked in, making it. Just with a rolling, I forget, MC something. And I had a CD deck that I recorded CD to CD on. So I had to do the whole album live in order to record the album onto a CD that I could share with the homies. And as time went on, I met more people, started working in studios, started having more resources and ability to make more music. But as over my last couple of projects, I'm talking about Under Umbras and The Setting Sun, and a couple of projects around that time, I felt that I was getting more and more disconnected from that the music was becoming more of a business product that I was creating in order to bring attention to my company, Starstruck Multimedia, because Starstruck Multimedia is a record label, and record labels need products, right? They need things, right? So for those albums, it became this thing to me where I was like, I have to create a product for my audience. And that was cool. I mean, I'm not hating on those albums at all, but when I go back and listen to those projects and I think about like where I was at in my life and how music has always been a sense of salvation for me, I kind of dropped the ball on that, because those albums didn't, I'll clarify a little bit of that, but those albums for me weren't pieces of my solace being solved. They were products I was trying to create to resonate with the audience. And they did fine. Like I made Setting Sun actually did pretty well, as did Under Umbers. They're two of my most successful albums. But the disconnect was like super clear there, where I was like, I'm not feeling this music. It's not giving me the release that I'm looking for when I go and make art. It's just not there for me. And so that's like kind of like even with Under Umbras, when I was working on like, when I first started Under Umbras, I was going through a lot of personal stuff. And then maybe I'll dive into it in another video, but I was suffering a lot of loss, personal loss, financial loss, spiritual losses. And the music I was making at the time, like the first half of that album, like 6 songs in the album, were not necessarily coinciding with where I was at mentally. And with a lot of things going on at that time, I ended up like kind of basically like suspending that album, because when I was listening to those songs, I was like, this is not where I'm at. This is not what I'm feeling right now in the world. This is not helping me like push my mental state and mental threshold or creative threshold to new heights. It feels like I'm trying to make a product, right? And so I ended up locking myself in my room and recording another 7 songs for Under Umbras. And so like half that album kind of is like a product, and the other half is like some of the realest shit I ever wrote. And like the song, like one of the singles, We Never Left, I wrote that like at the height of depression, when I was in some of the darkest times. And I was thinking about like why I was making music and why I was doing this is because this is what makes me happy. This is what makes me like move forward in life. And so that album came out kind of weird because of that disjointedness. And so I was thinking about my next project, which is Never Perfect, which I'll make a whole different video about the concept of. But with Wish Is Never Perfect, I wanted to return to that. I wanted to return to let me just lock myself in a room. Let me just listen to the music and listen to the frequencies that the world or God or the universe is trying to tell me, and interpret them into music that really states where I'm at mentally, spiritually, and emotionally in the world. Like, we're not trying to make a product per se, even though I am selling it and it is a product, but this is more like a journal entry, as my previous albums were, as Notebook was, as Black Sun Rising was, as Blockhouse was, as Breaking Infinity was. These are journal entries in my life, as is The Setting Sun, as is Under Umbrage, because they represent time periods in my life. So those albums are just as important as the previous ones. But what I'm saying is that those first couple of albums, when I was just in the room trying to figure out who, what, where, when, why, and how of why I'm doing this shit and this music, that's basically what it came down to. Like I said, I need to get back to that. So with this album, Wish Is Never Perfect, it's literally just like me in my room, finding samples, making beats, messing around with synthesizers, just being real with the music and just creating something that truly represents where I'm at in my life right now. And I'm super proud of it. So that's all that kind of really matters. Like, whether you guys resonated or not, whether it sells a bunch of records and no one buys it, it still represents a core time period of my life that acted as like a solace and a salvation for that period of time. And I'll talk more about it later, like the actual mechanics of the album. But this, I guess, is the intro to this series, I guess, if we're doing this. But yeah, make sure you guys go pre-order the album or go pre-save it. There's a link in my bio, wherever you're watching this at. Or you can go to my website, JaronIkner.life. The album does come out November 25th on a Tuesday. We already got a couple pre-orders, so I appreciate you guys. And we're doing a show at Brickbox on November 28th. And I'm working on the lineup, almost got that done. I'll announce that soon. But yeah, I'm going to keep making these videos to kind of just talk about Wish Is Never Perfect and like what's going on in my life and like how, I don't know, just stuff that interests me and hopefully interests you. So if you got this far, we're almost at 8 minutes. Thanks for watching. You can like, follow, share, or whatever. But we'll see you soon. Peace.